Most people think strength is tension. They are wrong, and that mistake is costing them everything. Let me tell you something I discovered the hard way. When I first started training, I was tight, every muscle clenched, every punch thrown with everything I had. Maximum effort, maximum tension. I thought that was power. My Sifu Ip Man would watch me and say nothing for a long time. Then he would say 2 words, too stiff. I didn't understand. I was giving everything. How could everything be wrong? Then one afternoon in Hong Kong, I walked to the edge of the harbor. I was frustrated. I punched the water hard, the way I punched everything back then. And the water did something my training partners never did. It didn't react to my force. It absorbed it, swallowed it, opened around my fist and closed behind it like I had never been there at all. And I stood there watching the ripples spread, and something shifted in my thinking that has never shifted back. The water didn't resist me. It didn't fight my force with equal force. It simply became what it needed to become to handle what I gave it. And it was still water, completely water, more powerfully itself than anything I had ever seen in a training hall. Empty your mind, be formless, shapeless like water. Here is what nobody tells you about relaxed power. When your muscles are tense, the signal from your brain takes longer to travel. The tension is already there, blocking the path. But when you are relaxed, the signal travels instantly. The muscle fires from zero, no pretension to overcome. The speed is the result. The power is the result. You cannot get there through effort. You can only get there through release. I used to watch my students try to punch hard. The harder they tried, the slower they got. The more force they put into the preparation, the less force arrived at the target. It looks like a paradox until you understand what is actually happening. They were fighting themselves before they ever reached their opponent. Think about the last time you were truly calm, not passive, not disconnected. I don't mean the calm of someone who doesn't care. I mean the calm of someone who is completely ready, who has done the preparation and trusts it, who doesn't need the outcome to be a certain way because they have already done everything that can be done. That calm, that is where real power lives. I trained with some of the strongest men I ever met. Men who could move weight I could not move. Men who had physical advantages over me that could not be argued with. And in every case, the same thing happened. Their strength worked against them the moment they tried to use it at full capacity. The tension required to generate that kind of force made them slow, made them readable, made them predictable in ways they couldn't feel from inside their own body. A tense expert is worse than a relaxed beginner. That sounds like something a fool would say, but try it. Throw a punch with your shoulder raised and your jaw clenched and your whole body braced for the impact you're about to deliver. Now throw the same punch completely loose. Arm relaxed until the last possible moment, snap, then immediately release again. Feel the difference. The second one is faster. It arrived before the first one finished thinking about arriving. This is what my teacher was trying to show me when I was too young and too angry to understand it. Tension is the enemy of speed. Speed is the foundation of power. Therefore, tension, which feels like power, is actually the thing that steals it. Be like water. Water does not brace itself before it flows. It does not tighten before it crashes. It does not decide to be powerful. It simply moves in the way its nature allows, and the power is a consequence of that movement, not a cause of it. In 1970, I injured my back. Seriously. Doctors told me I might never train again. I was forced to stop, completely. For months I could do nothing physical, and during those months, lying on my back, unable to move, I finally had enough stillness to understand what Ip Man had been trying to tell me for years. The most powerful thing a person can do is get completely out of their own way. I started writing during that time. The Tao of Jeet Kune Do. Everything I had learned, everything I was still learning, put into words because my body couldn't demonstrate it anymore. And what I kept coming back to over and over was this. The harder you try to be powerful, the less powerful you become. Power isn't manufactured, it's released. Be like water. Water does not brace itself before it flows. It does not tighten before it crashes. It does not decide to be powerful. It simply moves in the way its nature allows, and the power is a consequence of that movement, not a cause of it. In 1970, I injured my back. Seriously. Doctors told me I might never train again. I was forced to stop, completely. For months I could do nothing physical, and during those months, lying on my back, unable to move, I finally had enough stillness to understand what Ip Man had been trying to tell me for years. The most powerful thing a person can do is get completely out of their own way. I started writing during that time. The Tao of Jeet Kune Do, everything I had learned, everything I was still learning, put into words because my body couldn't demonstrate it anymore. And what I kept coming back to over and over was this. The harder you try to be powerful, the less powerful you become. Power isn't manufactured, it's released. When I came back from that injury, I moved differently. Everyone around me noticed it before I fully did. Quieter, less effort visible on the surface. The same techniques, but something underneath them had changed. The results were better. The speed was higher, not because I had worked harder, because I had finally stopped working against myself. There is a student I remember, strong, dedicated, came to me already knowing how to fight. In our first session, I asked him to hit the pad as hard as he could. He wound up, he loaded, he launched everything he had. It was impressive. It was also slow enough that I could have moved before it arrived, and I told him so. He didn't believe me, so I asked him to try again, and I simply moved, and the punch found nothing. Then I asked him to try something different. I asked him to throw the punch without trying to hit hard. Just throw it. Don't think about the result. Don't prepare for the contact. Just move your arm and let whatever happens happen. He looked at me like I had asked him to do something childish, but he did it, and the pad cracked in a way it hadn't cracked before. He looked at his hand. He looked at me. He said, "What was that?" That, I told him, was what you were doing in the way of. Be water, my friend. Not because it sounds good, because water has never once failed to find its way through. Not because it pushed harder, because it stopped insisting on the shape it needed to take and simply became whatever the path required. You are doing the same thing in your life right now, in your work, in your relationships, in the problems you keep facing with the same solution that keeps not solving them. You are tensing before you move. You are fighting yourself before you ever reach the obstacle. And all that tension is arriving before you do, announcing you, slowing you down, costing you exactly the speed and power you were trying to generate. Empty your mind, not of everything, of the insistence on a particular outcome, of the need to force what wants to flow, of the idea that more effort always produces more result. Be formless, shapeless, be water. Can you remember the last time you stopped trying and just moved? What happened? Because I think you already know the answer. You felt it. Everyone has felt it at least once. That moment when everything stopped feeling like work and started feeling like movement. That is not an accident. That is your nature, briefly freed from the prison of your own effort. I spent my entire life learning how to get out of my own way. Some days I was better at it than others, but I never stopped practicing, because the alternative, living inside that tension, bracing before every movement, fighting the path instead of becoming it, that is the only real defeat I ever knew. Not losing, tensing. Those are not the same thing. One happens to you, the other you do to yourself.